everybody. Remember us? We're that podcast you used to listen to many months ago, it feels like. We are Wild Wild Podcast. My name is Adrian Smith, and I'm joined by the one and only, the legend that is Rod Barnett.
Thank you for that. I've always thought of myself as a legend in my own mind. If it's spreading, that's probably a societal problem we'll have to deal with eventually.
I was listening to your Q&A podcast the other day, yesterday actually, on the NashiCast.
Oh.
And I was most amused. I think this has happened a couple of times where people have written in to you, and I really appreciate that they refer to me as Dr. Adrian Smith. And it cracks me up every time. Nobody in my actual life calls me Dr. Adrian Smith. Even my own parents still call me Mr. So, but I appreciate that there are people out there who do that. It always makes me laugh. But yeah, I was enjoying listening to that. And you now apparently have done about 40 commentary tracks.
That's
where I got up to.
Yeah, not all of them have come out yet, but yeah, roughly 40. Yeah.
I love that idea that somebody's made a letterboxed list of all the stuff you've done.
I know. It shows a level of dedication that I do not deserve.
What I'll do, because it reminded me that I've got a letterboxed list of all the films we've done on this podcast, but I don't think I've put it on the link tree. So it reminded me that I need to do that. But I also I will check out your letterbox list, because I think they'd done it into subcategories with who you've done commentaries with, which is just shows how prolific and friendly you are, I suppose.
Well, it also shows how cowardly I am, because I'm just not willing to try to do one solo.
Yeah, well, I just did my first solo track.
Oh, how'd it go? How'd it go?
Yeah, so we can talk about this, I guess, because there's quite a few things have been announced since our last episode. So so I've done a commentary for the Steve Reeves version of The Thief of Baghdad, and I basically blew all of my research that I've done into the peplums in one commentary track, so they can't ask me to do another one. Like, I could do it on my own fine, because I've done a lot of previous research on peplums and that era of Italian cinema, but I've shot it all out in one go, so I don't think I could do it again, but it was fun to do. And in fact, there is a connection between that film and our film today, which I'll mention when we get to it.
Okay.
But yeah, so that's coming out. I can't remember when. October maybe. As another one of they've done a Tales of Adventure box set with 3 different versions of The Thief of Baghdad, which is pretty cool.
Nice.
So I did that. I think our track for the Medium has been announced. I can't remember.
The Medium. The Medium's been announced.
No, wait, not the Medium. Body Puzzle has been announced.
Body Puzzle's been announced. Yes.
The Medium is out, although I still haven't received my copy.
Me either.
I don't know if you. No. But yeah, Body Puzzle as well was one we did. We did, I think between the two of us, together and separately, we recorded about 5 commentaries in a week towards the end of July. This is partly why we've been off the podcast for ages, because we had so much going on. I think I edited 3 commentary tracks in a week.
Yeah, and I edited a couple. It was pretty nuts. I edited a couple at the same time. It was it was a bit much. I've even still got one on the hard drive that I haven't edited together yet. Troy and I have recorded another let's say Nashi adjacent film that we've recorded ahead, and we're just waiting for the go ahead so that I can take their copy of it and edit the track to it. But so there's another in the pipeline that hasn't been announced yet from us as well.
And one of those 3 that you and I did hasn't been announced yet.
Yeah.
So we can't mention that, but it's not Italian this time. It shows how diverse we are.
Of course.
Covering continents.
We are men of the cinema world.
Yeah. It's all very exciting. In the meantime, I've been commissioned to do 2 booklets for 2 different Italian films.
Nice.
And I don't have time to write either of them, but somehow I'll find a way.
Yes, you will.
So, all exciting stuff. Was there anything else that's... Oh, you had a Mondo Macabro one announced a couple of weeks ago, I think.
Oh, I Hate My Body. Yeah, Troy, Gwen, and I did.
Oh, Rod, there's no need to feel like that. You do all right.
Well,
what about the commentary track?
Yes, exactly. We did one for the Leon Klimovsky film I Hate My Body, which is a phenomenal film that needs a wider audience, and now, thank goodness, it will get one.
I haven't seen that, but I'm picturing it as being a kind of Glenn or Glenda type film. I don't know if that's...
Not really. It's more along the lines of a deadly serious variation on Freaky Friday.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah. That's with a gender swap. It's a hedonistic, misogynistic scumbag of a businessman is in a car accident, and his brain gets put into a lovely young woman's body. Let's just say things go not swimmingly.
Right. Like, which one is it? Frankenstein Created Woman.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah, so all these things coming out, and I think that might be all of them. There's a few that I'm still waiting to receive. Have you received your which one is it now? Danza Macabre Volume 4 set?
Yes. Troy and I both got our sets
I haven't
about
how long ago?
A week and a half ago, I guess.
Okay. Maybe it's just still sailing across the ocean.
That would be my bet, yeah.
Yeah, okay, that's exciting. Yeah, so, as we keep saying, it's like an embarrassment of riches, all this cool stuff coming out.
Well, I've got to say, what I'm most excited about is this kind of, Body Puzzle is just the tip of the iceberg on what I'm referring to as the Lamberto Bava Renaissance on Blu-ray.
Yeah.
2 different box sets of these movies he made for different for television, about 10 plus years apart from each other. And it's just, I've got them both sitting there, and I'm staring at them and going,
cool.
I need to dive into these. I've seen a couple of them over the years, as they were individually released on DVD, but it's amazing to see the guy we used to refer to as the Baby Bava getting his due, and it's nice.
Yeah, and I was unaware before all this started going on of how many films he'd actually made.
Oh, yeah.
Because for me, he's always just the guy that made Demons. But yeah, it's really cool. I think I may be too late on the Brividio Giallo box set or whatever it's called.
Oh, really?
They appear to have sold out. They've sold out.
Oh my goodness, is that true?
Well, everywhere I had it listed as sold out, so
that
I might be too late to get that, and I didn't have any money at the time, as these things go. Anyway, but I'd like to get the other one. Was it called High Tension?
High Tension. That's the one from Severin. Yeah.
But again, like you, I've got so many. I'm surrounded by box sets that I haven't watched yet.
Oh, I know.
And
Me too.
Just yesterday, I got a big box of stuff from Vinegar Syndrome as payment for something I've done for them, which hasn't been announced yet, so I can't mention it. But again, I'm like looking at all this cool stuff and then thinking, right, where am I going to find? Okay, I've got to find some shelf space, and then they just all kind of get absorbed into my shelves full of Blu-rays. And like, I might come back to that in a few years.
Well, that's the thought that I had. I was recently at a convention, and Severin was there,
nice.
selling stuff, and it's really nice because they'll cut you deals if you buy more than one, and things like that. So I ended up picking up something that I thought I would just not bother with, which was the set they call the Game of Clones, which are all the Bruce Lee ripoffs.
Yes, I have that.
I now have that because they made me an offer I couldn't refuse. And
it's good.
And I keep staring at it and going, when the hell am I going to watch these things?
Well, this is the problem. Like, I got that, I don't know now, it's probably a year ago already. That was the first time I did a Severin bundle because they were giving away original posters. So I just went all in. But I've only watched the documentary and one of the films so far, I think, in a year. But it is very cool. Yeah, and of course the advantage of seeing people like that at an event is that you then don't have to pay any postage.
Oh, I know, it's wonderful. Yeah. I was going to ask you about that. Tell us about that, because I saw an interesting photo online of you doing a Q&A. Well, I mean, Well, the people who run, specifically Anthony Taylor, the people who run Monsterama down in Atlanta, first enticed me to start going to that show by having actual film prints of Paul Naschy films a few years ago. And so they asked me to come down and do introductions for each of them, which of course I was willing to do, and now I've just made it a habit of every August going down to Atlanta to this particular convention. And this year, they bundled me up with a bunch of different assignments, not the least of which, possibly the greatest of which, was interviewing actress Diane Baker.
Wow!
And if you don't know her name, you might know a lot of her films. She was in Journey to the Center of the Earth, The Diary of Anne Frank. She was in William Castle's film Straight Jacket. She was in Albert.
Yeah, of course. Was she the daughter? She wasn't the daughter.
Yeah, she was. Yes, that incredibly cute young woman. Yes, that's her.
Yeah, nice.
She was in Alfred Hitchcock's film Marnie. She was in, oh my lord, she was in the first episode of the television series Invaders in a very important role that kind of sets the entire show on its way. She was in she was in so much stuff, it's insane. One of my favorite things is she was in a 3-part episode of Mission Impossible in the late 60s. They don't do 3-part episodes, man.
No.
they apparently they did back then, right? So then she was the senator in Silence of the Lambs, whose daughter has been abducted.
Oh wow! Yeah.
That's Diane Baker. She became a producer. She produced a lot of like television movies and miniseries and things of that nature. Just an amazing, still completely vital woman. I really loved getting to talk to her. And I haven't been able to see. They're going to put up the video. They videoed our Q&A, the conversation that we had together there at the convention, and I'm curious to see it because it went really well. And she and I became friendly afterwards. She's just really nice, and that woman's busy. She teaches acting. She's all over the world doing different things. Wow. It was amazing, but I was kind of intimidated by her, but I felt prepared. And she afterwards she said, "You really were prepared," and I was like, "Thank goodness, I got an A." You know.
Yeah, that's really cool. I'd love to do that. I've done a Q&A once in my life, like a proper one. As you know, maybe that's not true. Maybe I've done 2. Anyway, not for a long time, but to do something like that at a convention that's really, really cool.
It was nice. It was fun.
Yeah, well done. Very good. We're so we've not just been idly sitting around in the last month since our last episode. We've both been doing quite fun stuff. I don't know. I mentioned this to you. I don't think I mentioned this in our last episode, but I've got a new job, which is going to potentially have an impact on the podcast. Partly because I generally edit this thing at work, because my work, when I'm at work, there's time to fit this kind of thing in. But my new job involves going to work in Beijing, and
the commute is going to be hell.
Exactly. And it throws up some interesting questions about time zone difference between Beijing and Tennessee, to say the least.
Yeah, to say the least.
So we are going to, I'm not going till October, so we'll at least get this season finished before I go. We should definitely. And maybe I'd like to do a mini season before we go. And then we'll see what happens. If we can try and record some episodes while I'm away, I think that would be quite fun.
I think we can find a way to manage it. I mean, it's 13 hours difference. We'll figure it out.
And then I've got to see what access I've got to editing facilities, because I work as a lecturer in film and media, I have access to all the editing stuff. This is what I do. If anyone is listening to this from my work, that might now get me into trouble. But as I'm leaving next week, who cares? But I'll have to see what I've got available to me in my new job. Maybe I'll finally have to buy some of my own podcasting equipment. But we'll see. I'm teaching media and journalism production and that kind of stuff. So I should hopefully still have access to decent stuff. But we'll see. Anyway, I just thought I'd mention it now. So the podcast may slightly go a bit funny for a while as I work out how to do it over there. But anyway,
we'll figure something out. Yeah.
That's on a long list of things I'm going to have to work out when I get to China. But I'm only going for a couple of months, so it's not a full-time move. I'll be in between there and here, basically for the rest of my job until I change jobs again. But anyway, there you go. Enough of that. Now, I don't know about you, Rod, but ever since I started thinking about this film that we were going to watch for this episode, I have been singing the Rush song Xanadu in my head over and over.
Why? I mean, not that I have anything against that song, but why is
that? Because I'm singing Zenabel to the tune of Xanadu.
Oh, there's a mashup I never considered. So yeah.
Plus, I've been reading about Xanadu because that's in China. And I've been doing a lot of reading about China. So just the two things have mashed together in my head. But yes, today, let's get on with our movie. I think everyone who hasn't seen this yet and is then going to watch it on the strength of our recommendation or not, will probably agree this is the greatest film of all time. Mm-hmm. No. Or not.
Or not.
Dear, there's a lot of issues with this movie that we will unpack as we get into the film that starts with a fantastic opening score. Let's hear a bit of it. This is Zenabel. With a score by, and I noticed you mentioned this on Facebook the other day, I believe it was written by Bruno Nicolai, but conducted by Ennio Morricone.
Yeah, and usually the opposite is true.
Exactly.
Because Nicolai did a lot of conducting for Morricone, and this is the first time. I mean, I'm sure it's happened more than just this once, but the reverse is true of this one, and kind of interesting.
Yeah, it took me by surprise.
I'm assuming that, like me, you absolutely love the score, because I think it's fantastic.
The score is one of the many strengths of this film.
Many. You used the word many. That's going to be interesting.
Well, I'll tell you what. Look, I'll get into this later. But I was looking at reviews online. There's not a lot. There's only one user review on the IMDb for this movie, whereas there are more on Letterboxd. And somebody wrote 10 good things about this film. They wrote a list in their review.
Oh wow, okay.
So I'll go through those later, and we'll see how many you agree with.
This sounds like a good exercise.
Yeah, it's really funny. Anyway, so this is Zenabel, with many different titles. So in Italy, it was called Zenabel davanti alle tremavano tutti gli uomini, which I believe means Zenabel, all men trembled before her. In France, it was called I'm trying to pronounce these like I know what I'm doing. Fais pas jouer avec les vierges, which means don't play with virgins.
Yeah.
In Germany, it was Die Jungfrau mit der scharfen Klinge, the maiden with the sharp blade, or, and this is a better title maybe, although still quite inaccurate, Gräfin der Lust, or the Countess of Lust. Now, in France, it was re-released in 1975 as La Furie du Désir, the Fury of Desire, and had about an extra 7 minutes of footage slapped randomly into it, all hardcore, which was sort of unnecessary. If you ask.
It was.
Did you have a look at that? Just for purely academic purposes.
Please, I would never watch that. Of course I watched it. As soon as I finished the film, I was like, okay, so what did they do here? And it's like quite a bit of pornographic inserts that when they tried to re-release the film after its failure in the theaters initially. So, Yeah.
The directing, the French pornographic version is credited to Claude Pierson, whose real name apparently was André Marchand, and he shot the sequences with his then girlfriend, Christina Davray. I don't know who either of those are, but I just thought this is the kind of detail our listeners enjoy. So I just thought I would mention that. But yeah, so this came out on, I believe it's a French, I mean, it's a very good quality picture. It's a French Blu-ray at some point that did include the footage, the extra footage, which is silent. I guess they've lost the soundtrack for that bit, but you can kind of use your imagination. It's not
I think you can
too difficult.
Yeah.
But when I was watching the movie and I couldn't quite work out where some of those bits would have actually edited seamlessly into the film, but I'm guessing the audience probably didn't mind how seamless or not those bits were. But,
no, the extra naughty bits are always something.
Yeah,
I'm assuming that people who went to see, I mean, it was the pornographic version was released in 1975, and I'm assuming that people who went to the porno house to see something like this weren't overly concerned with the things that we'll be talking about in this film.
Yeah. Now, a great film director. I'm going to have to put the before I say this anecdote, I'm going to have to put the explicit content warning on this episode. I think today.
Oh wow! Have you never? It's kind of. Have you never had?
I don't normally. We're normally pretty clean on this podcast. So I got to pride myself on this being a family show, but I think I'm going to have to put the warning on this one. There's a film writer director, Michael Armstrong, who's perhaps best known for Eskimo Nell, the greatest sex comedy of all time. And he said somewhere, and he wrote it or he said it in a commentary track, that it's really hard to laugh and masturbate at the same time. That was the problem with sex comedies.
It's a fair point, yeah.
I'm imagining how well the audiences for this French version would have got on in either direction. But anyway, we are talking about Zenabel. Now, we've jumped forward, so most of our season so far has been all pretty much 1963, 64, or thereabouts. We got up to 1964. But I thought it would be fun to kind of jump forwards just to the tail end of the genre to see what was going on. So Zenabel, and then we've got another Zorro film coming up, these both came out in 1969.
Right.
So it's 5 years later, and it's quite an interesting jump to see what was going on and how Italian cinema had changed in those sort of 5 years. And basically just loads more boobs.
Yes.
Than before. There are rapiers, there are ruffles, but the clothes don't tend to stay on for very long.
No, not at all. Now, I'm no prude. As a matter of fact, whatever the opposite of prude is, I probably would qualify. But the stark jump in, several elements that we will discuss. The stark jump from every other film we've done this season to this film makes me think that maybe jumping to 1969 was a giant error. So
it's like a culture shock, isn't it?
It really is.
So I would say the closest in terms of plotting. Actually there's two films, and I'll come to that. I'll make that point later. Let's talk about this film first. So our director, Ruggerio Deodato. And this is, I think, officially his third move. No,
I think it kind of depends on how you...
Fourth movie. Yeah, because he was doing TV stuff around the same time.
Right.
But he's still quite early on in his career. Now, we talked about one of his previous films, what was it called? Gongala, La Pantera Nuda.
Yeah.
And we'd also talked about Phenomenal and the Treasure of Tutankhamun.
Yes.
So I've quite enjoyed digging into the early years of Ruggerio Deodato. In fact, you and I, years ago, I was looking at this, I think it was 8 years ago on your podcast, talked about Hercules, Prisoner of Evil, was it called? Which was his first movie.
Yes. The one that he directed, but it was signed by Antonio Margheriti.
Yeah. So yeah, I've enjoyed digging around in his early years, and I would say he's come on leaps and bounds from Phenomenal.
I would say
particularly because that film, I remember us talking about how kind of bland it was, and the shooting style of it was pretty dull.
Yeah,
and it's almost like he was listening, because this film, it's dynamic. The cinematography is great. The pacing is much better. Like, it's like he was learning his lessons with this one.
Well, I think a part of that, maybe not just that. I think that he may have had more time on this particular film, and also I think we can't look away from the simple fact that this is coming from a DVD, so we're seeing a very much better looking print of this movie than we saw of Phenomenal and the Treasure.
That's true. Yeah, and Gangala, to be fair.
Yeah. I mean, and both of those earlier films, they had their points, especially Gangala. It was, none of the Jungle Girl films are ever going to be high art, or even, I don't know, even low art, really. But but I do feel that this film is because we've got a really nice looking print of it. I think we're probably going to be a little bit kinder to it, but it also does feel like he had a little bit more time and money to play with, which which I hate to say makes it all the more damning to look at it and go, man, they really needed to think this out a lot more before they started shooting this thing. But
so this is an adaptation / blatant ripoff of the Fumetti Neri Isabella, Duchess of the Devils.
Yeah.
And of course that did have an actual film adapted from it, which we covered in our Fumetti season. But this one, I believe, actually came out first. He beat them to it. So the unofficial version came out before the official version.
Interesting, which that sometimes happens.
Yeah. So the plot is kind of, I mean, it's not a lot in common other than the basics sort of outline, but then it does different things. I think the other one has got a better story than this one, to be honest.
To be very clear, yeah, I agree.
And this one also, like many of our other Ruffles and Rapiers and Ruffles films, the Spanish are the bad guys. We've got Spanish and Italian going on this time, I think, or are they all Spanish? I wasn't quite sure.
I'm pretty sure they're all of the same ethnicity. They're just it's interfighting. How's that?
Yeah, because I know definitely that the Count is Spanish and she is also Spanish. I think they're supposed to be Spanish.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's basically the same story about a girl who is all sort of rough and tumble, and then discovers that she's actually the heir to the she should be living up in the castle, and the seat was taken from her by nefarious purposes, and she's got to get it back. That's effectively, which is the same as Isabella. But so Deodato, he also wrote the screenplay on this one.
Well, he co-wrote it. I mean, there are a number of names attached to it, but yeah.
And the producer, is worth mentioning, is Mauro Parenti, who was also one of the stars. He plays Gennaro. I don't know what is he a hero? Is he a villain? He's the brigand /
he's a rapist
/ rapist / potentially brother of the star. It's a bit weird, but he was the producer. So he was also the producer of Phenomenal.
Yeah.
And played Phenomenal. So there's a bit of a recurring thread here. He put himself in the film and then produced it. And Lucretia Love is his wife.
Mm-hmm.
And she was in Phenomenal as well. So you can sort of see how he's doing this stuff here. How he's making himself and his wife the star.
Well, yeah, exactly. And he's also making sure that his face gets on camera, regardless of his acting abilities. And so, although he's far from the most embarrassing thing in this film, he seems to have learned a little bit more about how to carry himself on film since Phenomenal.
Yeah.
But it's still, I don't know. You're the producer and you cast yourself as a rapist. That's I don't know. This is not how I would go. This is not what I would choose.
he produced 6 films in his career, and he is in all of them. But he's also in a few other films that he wasn't the producer of. Most notably, a version of Justine, although I think not the most famous version of Justine.
No.
And a few other things, but his character is bizarre. I mean, we will have to, I guess, if we were going to give trigger warnings for this episode, which I never normally do, but this is one that perhaps should probably have them.
Yeah.
There is rape and sexual assault in this film that is played partly for laughs, partly as an excuse to look at boobs close up. Mostly the men do get their comeuppance. Mostly,
but not his character.
No, it's really odd. We'll get into that with the plot. But so he cast himself. He's Italian. He had met Lucretia Love on a set somewhere. She came over. She was American. Came over. She's from Texas originally, and came over to Italy and did she had a really good career.
She did.
She worked for about 20 years or so in Italy, about 15 years maybe. Most notably, early on in her career, things like Revenge of the Blood Beast, also known as the She Beast, I think.
Yeah, the Michael Reeves film. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Were you familiar with her from any others? I'd seen her quite recently in The Killer Reserve 9 Seats. I watched that not too long ago.
I've seen her in a number of things. What kills me is that I had known her name more than her credits, and so when I finally started looking at the films that she had made, I found myself a little surprised at some of the stuff that was there. Because I'll be honest, I think first of all, the most obvious thing, yes, she's an absolutely beautiful woman. She's incredibly photogenic. This movie, if you have any doubts about whether or not she's willing to disrobe in front of a camera, this film will disabuse you of any doubts. So
before the credits are finished.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's a clothing optional kind of film, folks. But when I look at her credits, I've seen a number of her films. What's terrible is that while I was watching them, I wasn't really paying attention to look specifically at her. So I've seen The Arena, which is a film that I have a lot of love for, which I primarily watched because of the American actors in it that were in that same grouping. Especially Pam Grier. So when I'm looking at that, even though Lucretia Love is like third build, I'm still what I was paying attention to primarily was not her but Pam Grier. So I'll need to.
That's fair enough.
I'll need to kind of reevaluate Miss Love's career here, because I've seen Killer Reserve 9 Seats. I've seen good Lord, how many of other? I've seen Enter the Devil. Although my memories of it are very faint. I've seen Battle of the Amazons. Devil with Seven Faces. In other words, I've seen a number of movies she was in.
Yeah.
But until you and I started doing this podcast, it wasn't until Phenomenal where I was like, okay, so she's kind of a separate entity, someone with an actual career that I need to eventually pay attention to. But this film is the one that's made me actually pay attention and delve into her background. And I'm gotta say, I think it's a shame that her career was as short-lived as it was. But then again, I don't know that she was necessarily going to be someone who was going to have any kind of larger career. And it appears that when she remarried, she decided to drop filmmaking completely and went off with her new husband and had a family and had a very different kind of life, which is all well and good. But at the same time, it's a real shame that I've kind of danced around this lady's career for decades and not paid enough attention to really kind of assign her a spot in how I think about the actresses of this period. But she's definitely got my attention now.
Yeah, she's very good. And it's no surprise that she did quite a few of those Decameratici films as well, that all have hilarious names, like Beautiful Antonia, first a nun, then a demon, The Hot Nights of Don Giovanni, Holy God, It's the Passatore. Oh dear, and we know those films.
Well, here's a film that I've been wanting to see for years, but just have not tripped over and done it, which is When Men Carried Clubs and Women Played Ding Dong.
Oh, she's in that.
Yeah, she's in that.
Well, do you know, I've been thinking we could do a mini season because there's a trilogy of those films.
Yeah. Well, were they made by the same people, or were they just similar titles? Were they just playing with the same title?
I think they're all connected, like a sort of caveman comedies or something.
Yeah, well,
it's intriguing but potentially terrible.
I know that I'm gonna regret this, but I'm willing to do it. Sure.
Yeah, well, why not? That's what we're all about on Wild Wild Podcast, is going to places that other people wouldn't dare go.
I thought you were going to say cinema regrets, but yeah, sure.
Yeah, no regrets, just onwards and upwards. Yeah, so she's really good in this film. It's a good role for her. It reminds me of the film I was going to mention before, is Tiger of the Seven Seas, where you've finally got a woman in charge.
Yeah.
And she's leading people into battle and all that kind of good stuff. And what I do like with this film is that they're very quick to they beat up a load of men and steal their trousers so they can wear the trousers instead of having to wear dresses.
Well,
which I thought was a nice touch.
Let's talk about a couple of things here. Good Lord, where to start? When you mentioned Tiger of the Seven Seas, maybe that's a good entry point for this conversation, because in that film, I found it believable that the men in the film were willing to follow her because of several different elements built within the story and within her personality that allowed her to be someone who, you know, she inherits it. She's already got the respect of several of the men in the first place. So it kind of worked. This film is in no way, shape, or form believable at all. There is absolutely no attempt made to even try to convince you that this is believable. Their attempts to make this something that you will just give a pass to all revolve around, hey, if you just keep watching, we're going to show you naked female flesh, okay? And hey, I understand. I'm still that way. And so that's one thing. This is not a film that I could ever just allow myself to wallow in and kind of be absorbed by the story, because at no point is the film in any way, shape, or form believable. I mean, it's just not. And it's also the second part of that is that it is very, very, very much as if they are winking at everyone in a specific way, which is this is an historical piece supposedly taking place sometime in the 1600s, but it is very 1960s. This thing reeks of 1960s the way a hippie commune would. This is the exact same kind of attitude that a lot of these kinds of films that were supposedly period pieces produced in this time are. Basically, there was a glut of them where we're going to pretend we have all these costumes, and we're going to pretend that it's in a different period of time. But everything that we're presenting and the way we're talking about things and the dialogue and the way we're stressing certain elements is really just about what's going on in 1968 or 1969.
Yeah, it's like these guys, and I think it is all guys, who got together to write the script. They're like, okay, so this is what feminism is, right?
Right.
Let's like the second wave feminism. It's in it. It's all going on. Like, everything's changing. Let's write a film that celebrates feminism, and this is what the men wrote. And they're like, yeah, we've written empowering stuff for women. The women are going to love this film. That kind of feels like they're all patting themselves on the back that they've written this strong feminist movie.
Right.
And it's really not.
Yeah, it's I was trying to decide whether or not it was, roughly 30% female empowerment and 70% sexploitation, or if it was if it was even more, if it was 20% female empowerment, or should I say faux female empowerment, because don't get me wrong, I'm very much of the belief that women should be able to take charge of their sexuality and handle their sex lives and their personal lives in the same way that men do. But at the same time, this is not the way it's ever presented when you are talking with an actual woman in the real world. This is not how they handle these kinds of things, and it's not how they think about it. This is the way men think women think about this. Mm-hmm. So it comes off as, it comes off as even more silly. In other words, it's silly on the face of it. And then it's even more silly because we, as the audience, are perceiving that the people who made this thought they were damned clever. They're just not being clever. This is really just a dressed up sexploitation film that's pretending to have some kind of higher aspirations, and they aren't hitting any target in the vicinity of any of the things that they're supposedly talking about.
And all of the men that these women meet are either rapists or potential rapists.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And there's one bit where a woman is being attacked and she says, "No, wait, I'm a virgin. I'm being saved for the Baron." And one of the men says, "Well, what do you want us to do? You want us to rape each other?"
It's like, this has to happen, so you're here, right?
Al is like, oh dear. Yeah. So I think, the trouble is, obviously, we're judging something that is over 50 years old with a slightly more modern sensibility. But I reckon people watching this in 1969 would have winced a bit at some of this stuff as well.
Unless the only reason they went was to see naked female flesh, in which case they would be happy. They'd get about an 80-minute run of that stuff, and they'd be they'd be fine.
Before we get into a little bit more of the plot, and I've managed to find a contemporary review, an Italian review from 1969. But let's just mention a couple of other people. So we've mentioned Lucretia Love, Amaro Parenti. We've got John Ireland playing the evil Don Alonso.
Yeah,
he is the Spanish guy who's come in and stolen, who I think killed her dad and stole the castle and calls himself the Baron.
Right.
And he's an American actor as well, John Ireland. Oh no, Canadian, sorry. But yeah.
I always thought of him as it wasn't until just a couple of days ago that I realized that he wasn't an American. I always thought he was, but yeah.
But he was a Hollywood actor, basically.
Oh yeah. And in tons and tons and tons of things, a long career. And I'll be honest, I'd forgotten about his little European excursion.
Yeah. What's cool about him is he seems to have got his career started with Roger Corman as well. In the early days, he directed the Fast and the Furious, the Roger Corman film.
Yeah, and starred in it really as well. Awesome. So
yeah. So he'd been an actor for a few years in My Darling Clementine and all kinds of bits, and then he obviously felt like getting into some low budget stuff as well.
That's the thing. Is you look back at his career. I mean, he was in one of my favorite movies of all time, Red River. He goes from working with people like Howard Hawks to ending up in things like Waxworks 2, Lost in Time. And don't get me wrong, I'm a fan of Waxwork 2, but it's a really weird journey. And like I say, those films he made while kind of in I don't know, was it limbo? There was a period of time there when he was in a bunch of European produced films. I mean, he ended up doing a lot of American television as well. But at the same time, this period of time in the 60s where he's in a bunch of spaghetti westerns, it's a bit of a surprise.
It's quite late as well, isn't it? When we talk about actors like this who go off to Italy, they usually went in the very early 60s and did some peplums and some Euro spies and then got into westerns and stuff. But because he was working in American film and TV all through the 60s, including he was in I Saw What You Did, William Castle,
and all
that kind of stuff. But so it seems like it was later on. He didn't go over to Italy until towards the end of the decade. So it's like he was fine for years and didn't bother, and then he suddenly decided, okay, maybe I'll go over there, be a star over there for a few years. But he did quite a lot of films.
Yeah, quite a bunch.
He's in Fulci's One on Top of the Other, which is cool.
But he's also in Run Man Run and Go for Broke, Dirty Heroes, Pistol for 100 Coffins. It's you start running down all the spaghetti westerns he was in, and then by the beginning of the 70s he's going back and forth and then doing a lot of American television. I just recently was reminded that he was in an episode of the Planet of the Apes TV series in 1974.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, that's right. He was back here. And then like 2 years later, he did Salon Kitty. So I think there was a point where he was jumping back and forth.
Now there's a film that you once seen, never forgotten.
This is true. But you know, hey, by the way, he also was in one of my favorite 70s American TV movies called Satan's Cheerleaders as well. And, and don't let that title fool you. That's worth your time.
Yeah. But I bet in his whole career, only one time did he receive a massage by a hairy dwarf walking up and down, up and down his spine.
What a weird scene! I mean, it's exactly what you expect and want from these films of this vintage. It's just pile on the weird details, man. Go to town.
Yeah, it's really funny. One other actor I would like to mention is Elisa Mainardi, I think her name is, and she is the woman who gets rescued quite early on by Zenabel, and then becomes friends and sticks with her throughout the whole film. Although her character doesn't appear to have a name, or if she did, I missed it. But she's Elisa Mainardi, and she was in films for pretty much about 40 years. She had a really long career in Italy. Mostly films I've never heard of, to be honest. But I thought she was, I just want to mention her because I thought she was beautiful.
She is beautiful.
And she has really good screen presence even when she's not speaking. But then it turns out that she was in loads of Fellini's films, sometimes just in one scene in the corner of the frame and stuff. But you can sort of see why somebody like Fellini would want her in his frame, because she's so sort of magnetic and beautiful that she would lift any scene that she's in. But she also pops up in some Jolly, like Eye in the Labyrinth and Death Carries a Cane and My Dear Killer and stuff like that. So there's a few things that I was aware of, but yeah, I just wanted to mention her because I think she's great in this.
She's a very pretty woman, and yeah, she does stand out. It's not hard to figure out why she would have been cast for different things of that type. I will say that my memories were my memories of her were stark from a particular film called Malibemba, a 1979 film where she plays a medium. Let's just say that is yet another film that seems to exist just to disrobe females. So keep that in mind.
It's also worth mentioning that when she made this film, she was in her late 30s. So it wasn't only young 20-somethings who were getting exploited in this movie.
Well, my friend, I do believe that everybody on this camera was being exploited one way or another. So
that's true. Was there anyone else in the cast you wanted to mention?
Oh, definitely. A very familiar face to people of my generation because of a long-running television series called Heart to Heart. Lionel Stander.
Yeah. Yeah, and I hadn't realised. Yeah, he's American as well, isn't he?
Yes, and as a matter of fact, an incredibly long career interrupted primarily, and this is something that is a bit of a shock to be able to talk about on a podcast of this nature, but interrupted by the HUAC committee in the late 40s, early 50s, where he was accused of being a communist and therefore blacklisted for a long period of time, which is why a lot of his career ended up taking place here in Europe before that idiocy went away, and he came back to the United States and started making movies there again.
There's a 10-year gap in his CV from 1951 to 1961. That's crazy.
Lionel Stander, incredible performer, someone who started out in the 30s in films.
Yeah, he's got a great face.
Tons of films. I mean, he's in big movies. He's in like Mr. Deeds Goes to Town and A Star is Born. And, you look at his long credits. I mean, Guadalcanal Diary. It's kind of amazing. And then the HUAC garbage, the idiocy comes along in the 50s. And so he goes off to Europe, starts making films there, which this is one.
I think he just made Once Upon a Time in the West, and then went on this one.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a difference in quality, but yeah, why not?
But then once he came back to, once all the idiocy of the blacklist was finally done away with, He was still doing some movies here in Europe. That's why he's in the phenomenal movie Caliber 9 or Milano Caliber 9, the Fernando de Leo film.
Love that film.
Astonishing film.
Yeah, he's in he's in a Lucio Fulci film, The Eroticist.
Yes, he was. He's in the very weird. Well, I wouldn't say, maybe weird is the wrong term. It's a Mike Hodges film, but the Michael Caine, Mickey Rooney film Pulp, which I recommend for cinema, the cinema curious, because it is kind of well worth your time. What a film!
Always worth watching Mickey Rooney.
Well, I've become less and less of a Mickey Rooney fan the more I learn about what a despicable person he was, but still.
Oh, man. Well, I've told you my Mickey Rooney story, right? Have I told that on the podcast before?
I don't know. I
interviewed Mickey Rooney, and it was really hard work.
Oh, I think you have mentioned this before. Yeah. He just wouldn't answer questions,
Well, it was like 10 minutes. He was grumpy. His wife kept apologizing for him. He didn't want to talk about any of his old films. I was trying to talk about stuff from the 60s, like slightly more obscure stuff. A couple of films he denied even being in. And then he whispered to me, "Oh, I'm just not very proud of that one." It was the one, what was it called? There's one where he plays the devil in like the Garden of Eden. Which was funny because on his website, his official website, one of the thumbnails was a promotional photo of him from that movie as the devil holding an apple. But he denied being in it. It was hilarious.
Well, the choice of that image for Mickey Rooney may not have been his choice at all, but everyone else's.
I know, yeah. But he was being really bad. I mean, I read about after he died. He was because his wife was with him, but also I think his son or his son-in-law. He was getting quite kind of exploited by certain hangers-on in his family and stuff. But I know people have talked about him being difficult even when he was still a teenager.
Oh, not just difficult. Some of the hideous stories I've heard, and I can't remember how old he was when he was doing this, but he was married, but he was out on the road with some production of something, and he would call his wife. There would only be one phone out in the hallway of where they were, where all the actors and the cast and crew were staying. And it'd be on the wall outside in the hallway, and he would go out there and call his wife from that phone. And while he's on the phone talking to his wife, he would have another woman giving him oral sex while he's on the phone with his wife.
Classy.
In front of everyone.
Right.
In other words...
Wow.
Yeah, and I've heard that story multiple times, and I've seen it in print. So I have a tendency to believe that that may have been one of the worst things.
So don't sue us. Please.
Yeah.
The Mickey Rooney estate.
I'm not alleging. I'm not alleging this. Many other people are.
Okay. Wow. I watched one of his films recently though that I did really like, which was when he was. It was a film noir where he plays a car mechanic who gets dragged into like crimes and stuff.
Oh, I think I know which one you're talking about.
I forgot what it was called.
Well, no, that's just it. He's a perfect example of someone who I really enjoy watching on screen, but probably wouldn't want to meet.
Well, no. Well, having done both, I can tell you're absolutely right. But I used to love Black Stallion when I was growing up. I watched that film over and over again as a kid.
Well, back to Lionel's standard.
Anyway, sorry. Yeah.
No. We both allowed this to go off. Just so that everyone is aware, I've already mentioned his long run on the Robert Wagner, Stephanie Powers television series Heart to Heart. But also, to be blunt, my favorite of his roles is his hilarious deadpan role in Steven Spielberg's film 1941. If you've seen the movie, you cannot forget him because he's the one who brings the artillery piece to Ned Beatty's house and explains to him how and it's just there for all the carnage that goes on with the Ferris wheel. It's amazing, and I don't think those scenes would work nearly as well if he and Ned Beatty were not just dead serious during the entire affair. But
that's fair enough. Yeah, and I'm just interesting looking at him. He's from the Bronx originally, and just like obviously he's dubbed in this film, but his face, he's got a really good face for a character actor.
Well, remember, he's an actor who we can honestly say worked with both Robert De Niro and Joe D'Amato.
Right, and he's only 60 in this movie, but he looks older.
Well, back then, actors always looked ancient because everybody smoked.
That is true. Yeah, good point. Let's quickly... I've got a little bit of a plot summary here, although we've sort of... I mean, the plot is basically there just to string all the nude scenes together. So the film opens with a naked bathing sequence. And there's quite a lot of naked bathing in this film, actually. And I was going to mention the location is the Monte Gelato Falls, not too far away from Rome. But it's interesting. I recognize them straight away because they are also in The Thief of Baghdad. So as I've just been researching The Thief of Baghdad, I was like, oh, look, it's the same place. Anyway, I'm using my book, Cannibal Holocaust and the Savage Cinema of Ruggerio Deodato from Fab Press, which is very good. I think they just brought out a third version of this. I've got the second edition. And I think they brought out a new version because he'd made one more movie since the last copy. But anyway, here it is. Very short plot summary. Zenabel, a girl from a humble background, discovers that she's actually the daughter of a Spanish nobleman who was killed by Don Alonso. Do you want to tell the story of how she finds out the truth from her father?
Oh my goodness, I can't remember now. I've slept since I saw the film.
She's told that her father is dying and she has to rush to his side.
Oh yeah, just like at least 2 other films we've gone through this year. Yeah, this is true. So she's informed. Oh wow, I can't remember the details. I'm sorry.
Okay, I'm sorry to throw you under the bus there. She's told this true story about her the fact that her father was given her by the nanny, I think, and that she has a twin brother somewhere as well, and there's a medallion that identifies her as the true countess. Yeah, and then he dies.
The ever present and necessary for the plot, quote unquote, to work necklace. That's right.
And then he dies, and everyone around immediately starts taking all of his stuff. And then he wakes up and starts shouting at everybody because he was only pretending. He wasn't really dead. That was the joke.
Yeah, joke in inverted commas. Yeah.
Oh, come on, Rod. You were finding this film hilarious all the way through, I bet.
Oh well, I was, but not for the reasons they intended.
Yeah.
Yeah. The fact that all the sword fighting looks like it was a first take and no one had done any blocking whatsoever. It's just embarrassing most of the time.
There's not. Yeah, the fight scenes are pretty funny. So she immediately sets off with, I think, 2 friends to go and claim back the castle. And this is where she kind of gradually, along the road, picks up more and more women who join her motley band. Mm-hmm. So this is where she rescues, what's her name? Elisa Maynardi.
Right.
And then steals the trousers of the men who were trying to assault her. And then they just go along and they meet more people, including a band of bandits led by this guy Gennaro. And they all team up to try and fight Alonso. That's all the plot summary I'm going to give you, because I'm going to guess, again, based on the fact that there's only one review on the IMDb, many people probably haven't seen this, so I don't want to give all the plot twists and turns away.
Oh yeah, we don't want to spoil the many surprising things that happen in this film.
There's a couple of funny, in inverted commas, set pieces, such as the Virgin Hunt.
Yes. It seems to be the only real through line that carries from one place to another is the Virgin Hunt. Yeah.
All the local virgins are rounded up, and their mothers are like, one of their mothers shouts, "Whatever you do, don't enjoy it."
Which is, I'll tell you now, I'm glad you brought it up, the only funny line in the movie for me.
And then another mother is laughing because she says her daughter is going to give them a surprise. So then there is a surprise later on from the daughter, the red-headed daughter in question. As a surprise.
Yes, quite a surprise.
So they're all rounded up, and then they're dressed in like little, what is it? I don't know, chiffon or something. And the dogs get the scent, and then the girls are set into the forest, and then men with dogs and on horses chase them through the forest to try and hunt them down. But, and just to add an even more sort of creepy element to the whole thing, there's a kind of witchy woman who is brewing up two different brews that are very distinctly two different colours.
And very distinctly labeled so that, in English, so that we can tell what the hell they are.
Yeah, but they're two different colours, but then she doesn't seem to remember which one is which. So there's one to give to the girls, which will slow them down, and another one to give to the men, which will pep them up.
If you know what we mean.
And so, but Zenabel switches them round, and it just puts the men to sleep. So I was like, did she just get this from Bill Cosby's wine cellar? Like,
yes, what? Essentially, one was a date rape drug.
Yeah.
One was a roofie, essentially, and the other was,
was the plan to just chase these girls through the forest until they fell asleep?
Yeah,
it's so weird. But the tone is all light-hearted, doop-de-doop-de-doop-de-doo, sort of comedy about it, even though we know that Zenabel's going to get the upper hand. But yeah, I thought that was quite a funny idea, a virgin hunt. One thing I will say that I do like about this film is the locations.
It's beautiful.
The location work is great.
Yeah.
It's all out on location, real castles and villas and gardens. Oh, including there is a sequence, I don't know if you recognized it, in the place called Il Parco dei Mostri di Bomazzo, basically a park with big old statues in it and faces and carvings. And you will have seen it in Castle of the Living Dead, the Christopher Lee Donald Sutherland film. It's the castle of Christopher Lee's garden. Sorry, no, it's the garden. Let me say that again. It's the garden of Christopher Lee's castle in that movie, and it crops up in other Italian films. It was in which one was it? Anyway, another Gothic film. But there's a sequence here where Zenabel is running away from Gennaro, and at one point she's standing in the mouth of this big kind of face. It's very recognizable. Anyway, yeah, it's in a couple of films, but it's definitely Castle of the Living Dead. But it might be in a couple of other films. So I thought that was quite good. But yeah, the location work is great. But yeah, so there's basically just lots of sequences where people's clothes fall off or get pulled off.
Mostly pulled off, yes.
Yeah, there's a lot of unpleasant groping.
Let's address something that I think as cinema fans, it's something we should address, which is the far too common statement made by people who are far too willing to throw out this particular phrase. Well, here's a film that couldn't be made today. Well, first of all, let's talk about a couple of things. One, it's a film that wouldn't be made today. Not couldn't, but wouldn't. And you know why? No. Because pornography exists.
That's also true, yeah.
Second, there's no reason for a film like this to be made because it would be laughed out of any room that people were attempting to secure financing within. It's just not going to happen. So, yes, I will agree there are things in this movie that would be tossed right out of any script, mostly all the rape. But this catch-all phrase of, they'd never make that kind of film today. They'd never make that. It's like, yeah, of course they wouldn't.
They don't
because
need to.
We're better than that now. We realize that rape is a hideous thing. It's not something to be made light of.
We don't need to make it now because they made it 56 years ago.
There you go.
But yeah, so the main hero, Gennaro, there is a really sort of unpleasant scene where he basically catches Zenabel and ties her up.
Yeah.
And then later on, she's supposedly falling in love with him.
I know.
But she gives him a lot of evil looks through the film. And she tries to get his friend to kill him at one point. So she doesn't give in too quickly. But then by the end of the movie, she's basically naked horse riding around the place.
Yes.
It's a bit of a mixed message.
Oh, it's so weird. And there's so much film and, God forgive us all, but there's even television where this kind of, falling in love with your rapist plot plot convenience is employed. I mean, there was even a famous story of that type that played out for years to great acclaim on a soap opera here in the United States.
Oh, really?
In the early, the soap opera General Hospital. There was this whole long thing, this huge romance between characters named Luke and Laura that was like the big thing for several years, and their relationship started when Luke raped her.
Oh dear.
Yeah, it was a different time, people. It was a really different time.
Well, let's see what the Italians thought about it in 1969. So I found a review in La Stampa where it's described as a sexy cloak and dagger film. In the 17th century, a girl lives near Naples who, with her band of terrible virgins, is the only barrier to the arrogance of the Spanish.
Terrible virgins?
Yeah, I hadn't realised we were near Naples. So the Spanish in Italy, I wasn't very sure of the geography, but maybe that's partly down to the subtitles as well, which were not always very accurate, I don't think. Zenabel and her friends are just as ready to punish enterprising males as they are to duel in defence of the oppressed. Oh, actually, before I finish reading this, we haven't mentioned yet who he was. So Lionel Stander's character, Pancrazio, he, along with his friend, I think it's Cecco, they basically, so Cecco is clearly gay, and Pancrazio pretends to be gay so that they can join up with this band of women and go and, like, they're part of the crew, basically. Right. So he's helping the women by pretending to be gay, but really he's really enjoying all the bathing that these women seem to constantly do.
It's one of the cleanest dirty films you've ever seen.
I know. I don't think people really did bathe that much in those days. But there is a really good joke. There's another joke. There are two good jokes in this film. There's one where Pancrazio accidentally pours coffee into this guy's hair, and the guy's like, "Hey, I had a wash a week ago."
Yeah,
which I thought was quite funny.
That is actually a funny line. You're right. So there were two. Okay. Yeah.
The historical setting and ideal perspectives of these feminists are incredible. Director, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so then their opinion. It could have been a parody of the cloak and dagger genre. Instead, it seems like a pretext to undress as many beautiful women as possible. Wow, there's real insight in this.
I was about to say, really? You picked up on that, did you?
The film's authors even devised a virgin hunt for the purpose, a sort of treasure hunt with a prize in kind, and peppered the screenplay with countless springs and streams for naturist bathing. Caught up in the mix and evidently embarrassed as voyeurs are two good American actors, Lionel Stamer, and John Ireland. So yeah, embarrassed. Well, it's interesting that they should mention that. In this book, it does tell a couple of stories. And I'm just picking up the book here. So according to this, Deodato experienced difficulties with John Ireland because John Ireland wanted to talk about his scenes at great length, whereas everyone else just wanted to get on with it.
Yeah.
So apparently, there's a sequence towards the end of the film where she's been identified as a witch and she's tied to a stake. And so they had to wait for hours. She's already tied up waiting, and he took ages to turn up. And then once he finally turned up, he wanted to talk about the sequence and his motivation. And so Deodato was so annoyed that he just picked up the dwarf actor that was with them and put him into his arms and then walked away. And so that's why in that sequence, it's a whole thing where he's carrying the dwarf.
It's just to get John Ireland to do the damn scene. Yeah,
that was basically his direction, right? You want some motivation here? Carry the dwarf. So after that, he just did the rest of the shoot without any complaint. But whereas Lionel Stander was, although it was shot in the heat of the very scorching heat of the summer, he was, it says he willingly complied with Deodato's wishes as he was often surrounded by half-undressed girls.
It's hard to argue with his logic there.
Yeah. So one actor had a great time. One actor was trying to be a bit method and wanting to understand his motivation. But...
your motivation is the paycheck, man.
Yeah, your motivation is let's get this done quick. So, finally then. Let me tell you the 10 reasons why this reviewer on Letterboxd thinks this is a good film.
Okay. I'm looking forward to this. Okay.
They gave it 3 stars. So, 10 reasons to love this movie. A blonde idiot hero on a family-driven quest, an incest subplot, a grand battle, a campfire village victory celebration, and a robbed ending ceremony. This film is basically Star Wars episodes 4 to 6. I mean, that's
okay,
and then the next point is, what is Lionel Stander doing in this? Solid work is what he's doing, my friend. Solid work.
Exactly.
And then there's a quote from the dialogue. They are naked as hens that were plucked.
Yes.
And they just call this pro screenwriting. Number 4, I'm not sure who she is, but Zenabel's brunette bestie is an absolute smoke show.
That would be Elisa Marianardi.
Yeah. Number 5, stealing the dead father's possessions gag is decent Mel Brooks fare. Yeah, I think that joke was funny too. The production and direction levels on this are top notch, including a Morricone Nicolai soundtrack. Number 7, can we just acknowledge how insane this scene is? A man tortured on a wheel, 2 beauties pouring jugs, a naked John Ireland getting his back walked on by a midget on a trapeze, a man in an iron cage, a live leopard, and a large white owl. Derek Jarman is jealous. I mean, it does sound like something out of a Ken Russell film.
It really does, yeah.
It is a weird scene. There is the torture scene where Britches-less John Ireland has a huge wooden phallus. Yeah, that sequence is really weird, where he's going to torture Zenabel. Well, that's one of the things I liked about this movie is the cinematography and the editing. There's a lot of wide-angle, low-angle shots and weird close-ups and like odd angles. It's almost like they're trying to do it like comic book panels.
Yeah.
And so, there's that whole sequence where she's supposedly going to be tortured by him, but she's hidden a mousetrap upon her person,
shall we say?
And but the shooting of that is really odd. It's quite experimental.
It's an odd film. Like I say, it almost feels as if Deodato, and this is just me wondering these kind of things, if he realized at a certain point that this film was such a loose assemblage of different elements that he was going to be able to kind of experiment visually, and because he obviously had a very good cinematographer, the production values are pretty high, so he was able to actually get a lot of really interesting images into the film. Not that they in the end really add up too much, because they're not the point of the film. They're not, in no way, shape, or form did they have anything to do with why this exists. So he could get away with it, I guess.
There's one short sequence near the beginning where they suddenly put speech bubbles on characters, like they are actually in comic book panels.
Yeah.
And then they never do it again, which I thought was odd. So again, it's the comic book influence, and also a little bit of Batman potentially going.
I know that's something that's popped up a few times in the late '60s in a film occasionly. I remember it being in a particular Jess Franco film as well, Lucky the Inscrutable, where there's a couple of things like that. But that whole film is built as if it were a fumetti in the first place. So it did not seem at all out of place to the tone. But once again, with this film, they're wanting you to take it seriously for the most part. There are funny lines of dialogue, but the whole thing is not built as if, it can't be taken seriously, but they seem to be trying to play it straight. And it's just,
I do think the cinematography is really good.
Yeah, it's a beautiful looking
definite
film.
Plus. Yeah, definite plus. The camera angles and everything are great, and it's really dynamic. There's a lot of movement, a lot of handheld camera as well.
Well, that's just it. If you had told me from the production values that this had been financed by Hugh Hefner, I would have just nodded my head and went, "Oh, I'm not surprised." Yes.
Back to the list. Number 9: a midget gets blown up by a pigeon. I'm not sure if he's a midget or a dwarf, and I don't really want to get into that argument. But anyway, I'm just quoting here from Letterboxd. Number 10, there's a live leopard roaming around. There's a bit in I'd missed the leopard, I think, and then there's one sequence where I thought, is that a stuffed leopard? And then, like, at the end of the scene, you see it move. Like, oh no, that's a real leopard. This guy's just got a pet leopard in his castle.
Well, I think they had a leopard. They must have had a leopard for a day. The rental was cheap. You know, if you come and get the leopard on a Wednesday, it's half price or something.
What was that film we did? I've forgotten which one it was now, where they'd used a local circus and there were loads of animals in it.
Oh yeah,
in a castle. Do you remember that one?
Oh,
vaguely. Big cats and all kinds of stuff. I can't remember which one that was. Anyway, there you go. So those are 10 reasons why this is a good film, and I would agree with some of them. But then the next review, just to close on a downer, says it's packed with unfunny humour and actors mugging throughout every scene. That was someone else's opinion.
I'm pretty much of the I'm in agreement with that last review. This is not a film that I will unless
watch again.
Unless I'm desperate to see Lucretia Love nude, and believe me, that's not a bad thing to see. I don't know that I'll ever return to this.
But if somebody asked us tomorrow to do a commentary for this, we would be all over it.
Well, there's plenty to talk about. It's just not a particularly good film.
Yeah, that hasn't stopped us before, though. So.
Oh Lord, no. I mean, not at all. I mean, that's just it. I mean, with a lot, especially with these European films of the 60s, 70s, and 80s, man, there's so much to talk about.
Yeah. So I had fun with this movie, even though there's a lot of quite distasteful, uncomfortable stuff. I think the winning personality of Lucretia Love really comes through. She's so smiley and clearly enjoying being the star of the movie.
Yes, very much so.
So she's very watchable, and I'm not just talking about the obvious reasons why that might be. I just think she's genuinely got really good screen presence as well. But then just all the other mad stuff makes it worth watching.
Right.
Too.
I mean, with Lucretia Love, to say the camera loves her is a ridiculous understatement. She's a lovely woman on screen.
Yeah. Probably not a surprise to find out that that's not her real name.
I know. I was so shocked.
Lucretia Hickerson. So Lucretia was her real name, which is a great name when you're born in Texas. Lucretia just seems like an odd.
I mean, it doesn't seem like it doesn't seem common at all, right?
Yeah, it would have gone down well in Italy. It's surprising they never cast her in a film about the Borgias or something. But I wonder whether she got the name Love because her first film was Love Italian Style, and she decided to go with that. But she's great in this movie, and so. What can you say? It's a good kind of historical document of what things were like in the late 60s and how what men thought feminism was. So you can sort of look at it from that perspective as well, or you can just watch it and be entertained by all the entertaining elements and the gorgeous score and the cinematography and, of course, the cast.
Yeah, definite there's some big pluses in the film, not the least of which is obviously the score. It is a beautifully shot film. If you're someone who is curious about Ruggerio Deodato's career, it's probably something that you're going to want to stop off at and give a look. At the very least, it will show you what he was trying to get away with and do in the late 60s before he spent a few years doing a lot of television and then moved back into features in the 70s. He had an interesting eye and a way of approaching images that he then used to completely evil ends and things like Cannibal Holocaust.
Yeah. Which I know I've mentioned this before, but if anyone's coming to this episode without hearing any of our others, if you want to hear what Rod and I think about Cannibal Holocaust, we did a podcast on that about 10 years ago, probably.
God, yeah, probably so.
So do check that out on the Bloody Pit. I still think it's a masterpiece, but
I think it's an astonishing. That's just it. I think Cannibal Holocaust is without a doubt. It's probably the apex of his cinematic career.
Yeah.
But I think he made some films that are better as movies, but Cannibal Holocaust it's a singular statement, and it's a singular piece of work. It's unforgettable. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Will haunt your nightmares ever after.
Oh yeah.
So we are. This was the penultimate film of our season. So the next film is Zorro in the Court of England, also from 1969. You can find that on YouTube. So if you want to play along at home, check that out before we come back. Hopefully not too long till the next episode. I reckon we'll get it done in the next couple of weeks.
Oh, I'm thinking, since we don't have another commentary job together, we can hopefully actually press on and get this season finished before the end of 2025.
That's right. Yeah. Cool. Okay. So on that, I think we'll say goodbye for now. Thank you everybody for listening. Rod, any upcoming podcast episodes you want to plug?
I'll soon be doing an episode on another serial, this one from the 1940s, called Nyoka and the Tigermen. Worth your time. And let's put it this way. If you're wanting action, this is the serial to watch, because it almost never slows down. It slows down just long enough to give you the plot in dialogue form, and then it's another chase, another fight, another gunfight, another,
awesome.
It's incredible. It's an amazing thing to see.
Cool. Very good. And and then maybe, I don't know, before the next episode, more stuff that we've done will get announced, and we can talk about that next time. But
that would be nice.
Anyway, yeah. So this has been a long one. I think this might be our longest episode of this season so far. So thank you for sticking with us if you're still here at the end. We'll be back soon. Don't forget, we are part of the Film Stories podcast network. You can just find other interesting film podcasts. Go to filmstories.co.uk, I think it is, off the top of my head, or just Google it and you'll find them. I did an episode, I was a guest on somebody else's podcast called At the Movies in the Noughties, where I talked about Final Destination. And I did it ages ago, and then I forgot about it, and then it turned out that it actually came out in June. So, and I just I missed it. So if you want to hear what I think about the Final Destination movies, which is obviously very off topic for me, to talk about something from the noughties, then just find that wherever you get your podcasts. Anyway, that's enough of talking. Thank you, everybody. Do check out all the links in the link tree. We've got t-shirts. We've got a YouTube channel. You can send us a message. We love getting messages. Or just tell your friends, and I don't know, whatever else you want to do. It's your life. Go out and live it. Do what you want. Okay, everybody. Thank you for listening. We'll be back soon. Bye for now.
Bye, everyone.